Welcome one and all. Lovely to see you here this morning. Everybody feeling all right? All good? Yeah, we've got a thumbs up. We're not sure. Well, it is day 2. You've got another day to get through. I mean, Well, we're going to be diving into one of the most important and hotly debated topics in building services, the future of water treatment. And as systems become more efficient and sustainability moves to the forefront, the industry is facing a key question, namely, should we stick with chemical treatments, or is a chemical-free future truly viable? Well, we're going to have a panel debate brought to you by our good friends at Altecnic. And to lead the discussion and the debate, I'm going to hand over to Ed Morris from Altecnic. Now, I'm going to slip away because this guy's a big guy. He can handle it all. Ed, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this debate, which I've been asked to host. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I know it's a hot topic in the industry. So we've brought together a panel of experts. Unfortunately, Diamond Blackmore was going to be with us this morning, but he's had to go home for personal reasons. So we've drafted in Kev Moore as well. So the panel, we've got Nathan, we've got Ricky, and we've got Kev. And what we're trying to achieve here today is give a holistic approach on water treatment. Is it chemical free? Is it chemicals? Is it both? I think it's something that's really important in our industry at the moment. I think it's important for installers to make sure they're doing the right thing. I think it's important for homeowners to make sure they're getting the best from their systems as well. So we're going to try and delve into it as best we can. I know that we've all got different opinions, which is why we've brought this panel of people together. But we'll start with the first question: is chemical-free water treatment. Can chemical-free systems deliver the same amount of protection to a system as what we traditionally would do with chemical systems? And Naif, I'll put it to you first, only because you're sitting closer to me. There's no preference here. I will go through as we start. So, what's your stance or your view on chemicals or chemical-free?
Yeah, 100% they can. But chemicals have to be used scientifically, and we had an industry that grew very quickly when domestic central heating became popular across Europe post-Second World War. New industries started overnight, like the control industry and things like this, and inhibitor industry. And we had to run systems very hot back then before we had condensing boilers. So there's a hydrocarbon, the clue's in the name, hydro. There's water vapour in a flame, and if that hits a water jacket and condenses out, you rotted the boiler. So that's why we ran boilers hot. The condensing boiler was invented, come to market in 1981, first in the Netherlands. That meant we could now push heat into the home at the correct speed as it's leaving, and we could have whatever temperature we wanted going to that water jacket. And ironically, we're still putting boilers with a fixed flow temperature with on-off control, which means they break quicker. And we've still got that fixed high temperature, and the rate of corrosion increases with temperature. That's a physical law. So yeah, it was understandable what chemical industry started. Inhibitor went onto the shelves the year I was born in 1971. It became a very big business.
You're never that old, Nath. You're never that old.
So yeah, 100% they do work. It's just that engineers should have choice, and some good engineers want a different choice. And we're now living in a world where no one used to talk about the heating industry 15 years ago, as we all know, but the whole world's talking about it. I mean, the third sector is massive now, talking about an industry that we've all grown up in, most of us. So, yes, they do work, but I think the chemical inhibitor industry realises there's other methods. There's the Austrian method, there's the VDI 2035 method, which obviously Ricky does a lot to help people learn about. So let's give the engineers the choice for their customers.
And Rick, I know you've got views on this as well. So from your perspective, chemical-free, where do you sit when it comes to either solution, really? Is there room for both in the industry?
Oh, yeah, there's room for everything, really. So my business is based around monitoring, water flushing, and it's all about monitoring systems. So we don't have a standard in our industry. So the British standard, it asks you to monitor water, but we don't physically have the guidance there from the manufacturers. So all the chemical industry, they don't offer all the guidance there how to test water. So a lot of engineers now, manufacturers are talking about VDI 2035, which is basically just pure water in a system, tap water into a certain area. Like Wiesmann boilers, they don't want inhibitors in the system. So, and you just got to monitor the water. So there is room for everything. And there's guys, I'd say some of my customers here are doing higher end installs, and it does work, but there's room for everyone. Kevin sells inhibitor. We talk quite often about guidance, and he's listening to what I say about manufacturers need to up their game, provide us lot on the floor the guidance to test. because we just don't know what we're doing.
No, and I think certainly from our perspective in the conversations that I have with installers is sometimes is they don't know. They don't actually know what they're trying to achieve. And Kev, I'll ask you the same question, but I'll put a bit to it, because you and I had a conversation yesterday where we're looking at systems. We're looking at a lot more systems now with mixed materials. So whether we're mixing pipeworks, metals, whatever it may be, what impact do newer type systems, okay, not newer type systems, but where we're starting to mix materials, where does the impact come along with that as well?
I think for me, if you go back to the system design, like the 70s when we started using inhibitor, we were using it then because the design wasn't as good as what it is now. And I think actually there's a two-way street here, and I look at it like electric vehicles. Sometimes it's good for people and sometimes it's bad for people. I think inhibitors and VDI, for example, and demineralized water, I do think there's a space for it, because I think if you get the right system design and a more high-end design, I think VDI works perfectly well. Yeah. I think when you've got system design for social housing, we've got a lot of that in the UK, when you've got, and they can't even get into houses to service boilers, let alone change stuff. So I do think there's a space here for both, but I also think there's a space for monitoring, testing, and actually education.
Yeah, and I suppose leading on to another question is limitations of systems and limitations and how we treat in the systems. And Ricky, I'll put this to you first. So what are the limitations of chemicals and systems, and what are the limitations of chemical-free, like a VDI approach? Are there limitations? Is it an open book? Is the sky the limit, or does everything have a ceiling that we have to try and
I wouldn't say there's any limitations, really. There's nothing stopping you doing what you want to do. So the system, just get to know your products and get them in the system, monitor them, speak to your manufacturers, and become the friend, really. And
is there a different approach? So we see lots of differences now. Nath, you and I have conversations all the time about how long heat pump systems have been around. We've used boiler systems, we use solar. There's lots of different types of systems. Is there different approaches for different types of systems? Is it a one-size-fits-all solution where you could use VDI in everything, or you can use chemicals and everything, or do systems limit what we can do?
I think it's all in the design, really. You might go to old systems, open vented, don't put VDI in it. There's guidance out there that says you can, don't put it. It's for sealed, pressurised systems, and it is all in the design.
I think the other thing, if you look at underfloor systems, there's a lot of talk here about biocides and about but how can you test the biocide? How do you know what's in it? And I think there's a piece there that actually, an educational piece, and me and Ricky talk about it a lot. Yeah. How do you understand what's actually in the system? Because we know biocide degrades after a period of time. Yeah. How do we know we've got it right?
Yeah. And I suppose when we talk about limitations and the right fit to be the right for the system, Nathan, your opinion is there a difference between commercial and domestic? Should we treat them the same, or is a commercial just a larger version of a domestic system, or is there a different approach when it comes to, say, light commercial or a bigger commercial system as opposed to a 3-bed semi? Do you know what I mean? Is it?
Well, yeah, there's always been a different approach for commercial. I mean, I think we could both say that commercial have gone and looked at the VDI 203, they've got the BG50, haven't they? And
commercial's definitely higher.
So it's interesting how the commercial sector will probably start to think about more of this than residential. I mean, obviously, you walk in any merchant in this country, what is the first thing you see in your face?
Bottles of chemicals.
It's either control or the chemicals, and they're interesting industries because it's. I'm a big advocate of marketing has to get right in this industry. So while my family was flying over to America in the 70s to one of the world's most famous control manufacturer, they were also making all the napalm landmines and cluster bombs for the Vietnam War. I don't think energy efficiency was on the top of their agenda. It was making money, and people have got to realise there's some physical laws in our industry that you've got to start thinking about. And, using chemicals is a good idea if you use them properly, but you've got to use them scientifically. You can't just bung in any old thing, and that's the trouble. No one knows what's actually going on. You go up in the loft now. Fortunately, I don't go up too many. But I'm seeing bottles of empty bottles, like going back to the 80s. Are they nitrate-based? Are they molybdenate-based? I mean, most are molybdenate now, but there are some still nitrate-based. You don't want to be mixing them chemicals together. We aren't just using copper and metal in our heat systems anymore. We've got all different sorts of polymers. The boilers are, all different sorts of seals made from different polymers, and they are. Some of these chemicals are detrimental. That's why the VDI 203 come about for the German Institute of Engineering.
I think just picking up on what Nathan just said about what's in it. We need to be honest and upfront about what's in it, right? And we talked about this a lot. But also we need to have that universal test. People should be able to test across the board.
Can you have a universal test if the chemical componentry is so much different?
No, and this is the problem we've got.
And genuinely, you know...
and if you think about it, 1.4 million boilers going in a year.
Yeah.
So that's 1.4 million bottles of chemical at some point.
And you know, there's a lot of installers here I can see, you know, do you sit and read the back of the bottle to choose what's best for you, or do you see what's on offer, or do you see what's the first bottle you come up to?
It's interesting. We've put a little tag on our what do you install?
Yeah.
We've got like all the names, and then at the bottom we've got the cheapest and what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And then last night we had 200 tags, and what came out was what's the cheapest and what's in front of me. What's in front of me is what I'll put in if it's on the trade counter of a merchant.
Not necessarily understanding it. And I suppose, do we run a risk of causing problems for installers and homeowners if we class it as a maintenance-free solution as well? Because, as you say, they're living and breathing systems, aren't they? And you know, you've only got to have a slight leak and top up your system for a very short amount. You've already diluted it, so it's not really maintenance-free.
And as soon as you put an oxygen in the system, you've got, you know, when you take off that radiator to do the painting, you've got an issue.
Yeah, and how often, Rick, do you see monitoring of systems? I mean, you talk about universal inhibitor tests. I've sat on industry stand debates where they talk about this sort of stuff, but do we need to do more for monitoring? Is it viable to roll it on a mass scale in the domestic market to monitor systems?
I don't think people are really interested in monitoring. They don't have the guidance to monitor, because you can go to any system and look at the sticker, and that could be like 10 years old, that sticker, and then you use a certain test kit, you don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
But no one knows how to test for inhibitor.
Yeah. And understanding the test results. Data's really good if you know what to do with it. You can have all the data in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it, there's no point.
I'm a great believer if you can overdose inhibitor. Certain companies, I don't know about yours, said you can't, but we're seeing massive issues with overdosing inhibitors, diverter seals leaking, increased iron levels, loads of things, but there's no education in the industry.
I guess if you've got a system, you don't necessarily know what the litrage is, but you've got a litre and a half of chemical.
That's another issue, isn't it? That bottle says it fits 130 litres. If you look at some small domestic properties, you've got 40 litres in there, so you're treble dosing it, and then you've got a leaking diverter.
And let's be honest, what happens? It all goes in.
Yeah. Exactly. No one goes, I think that's about right. Put the bottle, like you say, chuck it on the floor in the loft.
It doesn't say, it says up to 130 litres. This will do up to. So
it's a bit of
put it all in.
Okay,
I think also, though, when you're doing a retrofit and you're actually doing that, you have to make sure the system's clean to start off with. And we talk about this on a daily basis.
There's a good flushing company out there.
Of course.
Mine's better.
Depends which one.
Don't start fighting, you two. So let's take it forward a little bit. We'll talk about VDI, which is like the German standard. We have BS 7593 in the UK, which only talks about chemicals. Is that a problem? Because if we're saying as manufacturers, are you insulting? I know I'm going to set Nathan. I can see him starting to get himself wound up now. So, you know, we have BS 7593, which only talks about chemical inhibitors, but we have a solution which is tried and tested, you know, on the continent. Is that a limitation for us as an industry and for the installers and the homeowners that we only talk about chemicals?
Yes.
Thank God, I thought you were going to go on a diatribe then.
So when BS 7593 came around, you know, obviously British standards is an old institutional thing. And there's some good work. There's some good people working in that inhibitor industry. I just want to put it out there. But when that standard was mentioned in Part L, the whole chemical industry said, right, it's now mandatory to use inhibitor. There's no British law that mandates stuff, like TRVs, for instance, because that prevents innovation. Someone might invent something better than a TRV tomorrow, and we've now got a law saying, well, you can't use it, because the legalese word is shall use. That's why that word should gets used. So there's guidance, and then if you look at an approved document, there's there's green boxes, and the text in them green boxes is what's the law. Yeah. There's only 3 words for the law around controls: use, effective, control. All the other tens of thousands of words saying TRV. How many people say TRVs they're mandatory? And I think, no, they're not. No one mandates you to use a product in British law. Now, that chemical industry sort of backtracked on that. They said, oh, yeah, all right, it's not mandatory. But what they've got to... engineers have it hard. You know, we live in a country where, for some reason, the public don't trust us. They think we're about exploiting them with money. So, you know, you've got engineers out there working really, really hard. It's a scientific industry. You know, other trades are good. You know, they do hard work. But we're a very scientific industry.
Apart from electricians.
And they have it hard enough. So why don't the manufacturers support them as much as possible? You know, say to the public, you know, they have to do water quality testing. They have to do that. Spend a bit of time cleaning the system, because the industry hasn't. It's all about now going in as quick as possible, getting a boiler in half a day. You know, I know people that can put in 2 in a day. Well, you've got to spend a bit of time cleaning the system, really. Not putting 2 boilers in a day.
And I suppose, you know, it's understanding what we're working to as well. Like you said, you know, perfect there about the green boxes. There's something you put on LinkedIn the other day, which I picked up, and it was about discharging from safety relief valves, that sort of stuff, about ton dishes, and people think it's got to be that, but they don't actually understand what they're installing to either. You know, the regulations or the British standards have to do that, but it's recommendations.
Yeah,
you know,
like the ton dish. The ton dish helps you meet the requirements. See that word, the requirement. So the requirement is to safely discharge it in a visible
As it is
position.
with dosing a system,
Safe discharge, invisible. The ton dish helps you do that if you're going into your discharge goes into a source stack, because you can't see, once it's gone into a source stack, you can't see what's going. So, but everyone thinks that's a law that you've got to have a ton dish. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
7593's had an update in the last 6 months.
But how many people know that?
No
That's
one.
the thing. They don't
It's
know
not been
when
talked
the
about.
No. I got a document the other day that was the updated version, the old version, but there were so many changes, but people don't know about it. It's absolutely mental. So VDI, so we kind of know, and going backwards today, we don't know how we dose systems because it's relatively simple. From a VDI perspective, what's the difference in filling a system from VDI to filling a system or a chemical-free system versus a dosing a system? What's the main differences, and what do engineers and installers need to know about what the differences are, and what's the implications for them as installers?
So VDI is chemical free, so there's no biocides, no glycols, no inhibitors. It's full chemical free, and you can fill with tap water. Certain parts of the UK are pretty decent.
West Wales.
Yeah, Wales is good.
Water's great.
Yeah. So does water quality, the natural content of the water built up, hard water areas, does that impact on the quality of the VDI?
I think, hard water, obviously, with a gas boiler, you're going to get scaling.
Yeah.
The problem with the UK market, we're filling systems, we're draining them, we're filling, we're draining, we're taking radiators off for plasterers, and it's constant. We're not looking after the system. In Europe, they tend to commission, fill, do it all on the same day. But we do have issues with scaling in the UK, and that's where VDI came from. Part 1 originally was to reduce scaling, but then they've seen issues with high conductivity water with waterside corrosion. So then they brought Part 2 in, ion exchange, demineralization, and then that lowers the conductivity, lowers corrosion.
So things like water softeners can help. So you've got sort of chemical-free water, so they can help and aid.
Yeah, but you've got to be careful with sodium in water, because sodium creates high pH, and then it splits the sodium ion. And
again, it's all down to science, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about testing.
It's that conversation.
All about monitoring.
I think the limescale problem seems to be getting worse and worse.
We had this conversation
all the
yesterday,
time.
didn't we? Yeah. We've just launched a new chemical-free softener, which is, we can see more and more interest in it now, because it's chemical-free, people, and we see the implications of the hard water. And for some reason, Kev, I think you and I had the conversation, water seems to be changing. I don't know why, whether it's the way that we are living or the way that the world is now.
But if you take that back a step and you see a 20-pound magnetic scale reducer put in, and then you see a scale buster or I was going to say this. I'm trying to get your name in and my name. So
that one over there, another one.
Scale buster's up there as well. But also, if you see like a Lime Defender or whatever's brand, what's the difference between 20 quid one and a 500 quid one to a £1,000 water softener? And the mentality is, no one really knows.
Yeah, so those go
because the education piece is lacking in that area as well.
Yeah. So as we push towards net zero, and we're trying to look for efficiency, and we're trying to look for best performance in systems, obviously we talk about filtration, we talk about dirt and air removal. Does efficiency go hand in hand with treatment? So VDI, chemicals, does that have an impact on the system efficiency as well?
I would say so, yeah. Get an efficient system. These guys are installing £20,000 heat pumps. So you want to keep your efficiency levels high, get the right kit in there, monitor the water, and the customers deserve it, don't they? They deserve
It's a big outlay for end users, isn't it? Even boiler installs are expensive. Yeah.
And I get phone calls all the time saying, I've put this in, I've added that, and the sight glasses have gone brown, and this has happened. And but it's about running the system regularly. We want to stop stagnation. Yeah. So hopefully, if there's any manufacturers here, you want to look at anti-stagnation cycles in the program settings. Run it once a week for 10 minutes just to turn the water, and that's not just chemical free. It's chemical treatment as well. We're turning systems off now in May, and we're not turning them back on till September. And they're sitting there. We're doing more underfloor heating systems now, so the slabs are a breeding ground for bacteria.
Yeah.
So we need to
I think that's a
turn them
really
over.
valid point. In my old world of pumps, circulators,
Yeah.
you turn it off in May, you turn it back. We're an on-off culture.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are. European is not.
No, it's not.
European
Far
has
from
a
it.
run.
Absolutely.
So that's why we will have so many issues with faulty circulators or whatever, because actually they stick and because the water treatment's not right.
Is there a trade-off between efficiency and longevity of a system? Do you understand what I mean by that? Do we treat the system well, but possibly impact on the efficiency, but we're going to get a longer life out of the system, or do we have to do what suits best, or is it a bit of both? It's a
So
question.
It's a bit of both, isn't it? Really, you've got to treat the system and look after it.
Look
get
after it
longevity,
and
I
make
think
sure
if you're going to spend 20-30 grand on a really nice heat pump system with a fantastic design, and I've seen some stuff with Damo and a few of the others, why not put in VDI? Because actually that's going to do a really good job.
Yeah.
Right? But if you dose it the same way and you treat it the same way and you protect it and monitor it and everything, it still will have the same effect at the end of it.
Yeah. And do you think that, obviously, I'm guessing that everybody in this room understands inhibitors that are available. Do we understand enough about VDI for it to become more viable at the moment?
Well, I don't know if they do understand inhibitors. I mean,
okay. No, they're available, should I say? Let's not say
the
understand.
inhibitor market is massive. I mean, crikey. I mean, one of the interesting things, the only UCAS test lab in this country for inhibitor is owned by an inhibitor company.
Yeah.
And they're testing everyone else's, their competitors' products to destroy metals.
Yeah.
And then they all come together and write standard.
Yeah. It's a bit of a Wild West, I suppose, in that aspect.
It is a wild way. Don't get me wrong, they could do it, they could all come together and think, right, let's standardise it a bit better. Let's be really, really honest with engineers. Let's give them choice. Because, yeah, if you use chemicals and use them really, really well, you're going to have a good system.
Yeah.
But most people, we don't always have the same engineers go to home, so everyone just buys what they're buying, what they're getting a deal on. It goes in the system. So you're ending up with this chemical soup in a system. You don't need to be a brain scientist or a rocket scientist to understand if you've got chemical soup going around, something's going to break.
Yeah.
But if you're looking after it with the same manufacturer's inhibitor year after year after year, you're testing it to know the right dosing levels, it makes sense to do it like that. Probably sometimes it's easier than doing VDI up and testing that, but we haven't got an industry, and it's a sector of industry that's not helping people, because water, it's the cheapest component of a heating system, but it's probably the most important component of a heating system.
Yeah.
The system water, and that's what's breaking systems.
Yeah. So from a perspective, from an engineer's or installer's perspective, and there may be some sitting around here now who may have never heard of VDI or never used it, what considerations do you think they should make when making a choice of dosing the system? Is it down to system design, system type, system size, location? What considerations should these guys
I think
be
a
making?
lot of it stems from system design to start off with.
Yeah.
That's what I'd look at personally. Again, go back to your gravity-fed and tank-fed systems, and is VDI going to work? It's not going to work.
Yeah,
is
you
it?
need to look at the metals in the system, like is it
100%.
aluminium, copper, is there a lot of
Multi-metal
plastic?
is a big
Yeah.
problem, isn't it? We know that.
But how many people, how much time do you think they have to sit down and work out what that is before they make their choice?
No one knows much.
And do we understand it?
Do you know what? Everything's moving now, isn't it? Look at the place; it's buzzing. Education is coming now. It's a growing industry. 10 years ago, everyone was just throwing boilers in. No one knew anything about design. Kim Betty, Heat Geek, are all pushing the standards up.
And I think
we're getting there now.
That's been, for me, a measurable change. Is the amount of people now that are willing to share. Now, if you've been doing it for years, you push it. Kev, it's about sharing. We hold a lot of knowledge from individuals and from manufacturers. It's about sharing that.
But
I think one of the issues that
That's right.
we just want to fight against each other.
But yeah, and that's what I was going to say. We're at the installer show, right?
Yeah.
And all these manufacturers, including me and you, obviously, with your stuff. Why don't we all work together on it?
Yeah.
Because we're at the installer show, and the customer is the installer.
Yeah. We want to help everybody here to make it better. And I suppose I want to, if anybody's prepared to answer some questions, I've just got a couple of questions really for the audience. Is anybody prepared to say, as installers, are you seeing more callbacks for treated or untreated systems? Do you get people saying they've got corrosion, they're seeing any leakage, anything like that? Is it something that you're seeing anything of? He's hanging. I'll bring the mic over to you. Sorry. It's just a bit of feedback.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nathan. Nice to meet you. I'm Nick Bayliss from Castrats. We've had two systems, one in America, one here, both crazy high pH levels. I was talking to Ricky about these yesterday, and we wondered if it was water softeners or something, but yeah, we're talking like pH 13 plus.
So pH levels, it comes down to science again then, doesn't it? When you start talking about pH levels and whatever's in the
Yeah, I was
water.
speaking to Nick yesterday, and I think he's filling with sodium ion exchange for the water softeners.
Yeah.
So the ones you put the tablets in,
Yeah.
you get high pH sodium. That's why the manufacturer said years ago not to fill
Yeah.
aluminium boilers with softened water.
Yeah,
They
it's
wanted
like
it
learning
different.
a whole new trade for some of these.
No one tells anyone that's the problem, yeah.
You become a scientist. Anybody else got anything they want to say about chemical free, about how they see systems? Everyone still hungover from last night? Well, I think, was you going to say something?
Well, because the guest you just had speak there is from the radiator manufacturer company, so it's nice that you've now got radiator manufacturers recognising the importance of this, because as we know, radiators are an important part of a heat. They're the sink system. That's what's pushing the heat out, and we've allowed them to corrode and corrode and corrode.
Yeah.
They naturally passivate, but it's great that there are radiator manufacturers now that thought, right, okay, what are other methods we can sort of prevent?
Well, I think from any manufacturer perspective, if you've got a problem that's causing an issue for your product, it's going to give you a bad name. When 9 times out of 10, it's what's going through this. We see another see.
The problem, I spoke to a lot of radiator manufacturers, and you ask them about water quality, what they expect in their radiators, what pH levels, iron levels, and they refer you to the British standard, and you look at the British standard, there's nothing about water quality in the British standard. There's not one parameter about iron
that's
levels,
different
pH.
parameters, isn't it? It
And
might
it's
talk
like-
about it,
yeah.
it might mention it, but how far do we go?
But this goes back to
Yeah.
system design.
Yeah.
System design is so important, and I think from low-level system design to which is that social housing environment or that new build environment, we're whacking up houses left, right, and centre, and guess what goes in it? Plastic pipework, 10 mil microbore, it all goes in it.
Yeah.
Because it's all being dropped into
It's
the
all
plasterboard, and I think that goes to the design piece is so important.
Yeah. No, I've got 3 more questions. I'm going to ask you one each, and then we'll wrap up. If anyone's got any questions, we'll try and answer questions. I suppose you two could answer this one. Innovations, water treatment on the horizon. Are we seeing anything new? Are we looking at any sort of monitoring systems? Have we got any self-dosing? Where are we going with this?
You can go first. You talk about it.
Well, for you personally, you're going to bring it to the industry. So yeah, if Thoroughflush have got something.
Yeah, we're just going to keep pushing the chemical free, possibly do some water training in the future, and changing this, trying to push the standard. Unfortunately, I've sat on the HHIC and I didn't get invited to the thing, so I found it difficult to push a standard. I ain't got the money to compete with the big boys, unfortunately.
No.
But yeah, I want to push
there?
training, maybe some training course in the future.
training-
I think
Yeah.
training and
Training
education
is
is really
massive.
important
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the board.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I think from taking on Kamco, 16, 17 months ago,
Yeah.
we can see installers actually, when they're flushing a system, they want to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So maybe some sort of monitoring,
Yeah.
that sort of it. I think demineralization will come with, I think everyone will,
Yeah.
like anything, it'll come.
Okay. Question for you, Nath. How do you upskill the workforce? How do we upskill the what we currently have to make sure that we're doing the right thing, or should we be there already? Is it difficult to achieve?
Well, the easy answer to that, it is a bit difficult to achieve. I mean, we've got sole trader industry, so that changed sort of late 70s. We went from a directly employed industry to sole traders. So whereas you used to be able to filter down information through, people were employed by the councils or regional gas boards, trying to get information out to sole traders, it's quite hard. I'm probably going to be doing some work with Wolsey, because merchants is where everyone goes to, so there's a thing there of helping the industry. And yeah, it's a tough one. The big problem with education is a business in its own right, and they like to make money. It's bums on seats,
Agreed.
as we know, and that's unfortunately a bit of a. We teach people to be qualified. We're not teaching them to be competent.
Yeah.
They're two different things.
And I think we need more historical people from the industry delivering the training, because I know one of your big things is trying to train, and you don't like that sort of, you can't train someone to train if you don't really understand what you're talking about, do you? And I think we need the good people like yourself and others who've been there and done it and been on the coal face of it.
Well, one of the biggest things is what BetaTeach. There's 2 principles to BetaTeach. Activate people as autonomous learners. So you don't learn anything unless you really want to learn it.
Yeah.
It's up to us. And then obviously activate people as learning resources for one another. Like peer-to-peer learning is a big thing. That's where a lot of engineers they're learning from each other.
Yes.
And manufacturers have really got to step. You've got to realise you're in an industry that the whole world talks about now.
Correct.
So manufacturers there's a few I could name here today.
Don't do it now, please. Not now.
I'm not one of
Not
them.
this far without you upsetting anybody.
Yes.
Let's wrap it up.
But the manufacturers have got to really get on board with, right, let's
Yeah.
look at the science of this heating industry. and let's help
Yeah.
the engineers as much. But they need help, you know.
Yeah, they do. Listen, we're out of time. I'm really sorry about that. Guys, Kev, Rick, Nath, I really appreciate it. If any, we will have some questions. We haven't got time, but we'll hang around for the next 5 or 10 minutes if anyone's got any questions. Us Altecnic, we're on stand D15 over there. We have got some chemical-free solutions and some new products. Please feel free to come over and take a look at those. On behalf of Altecnic and myself, Kev, Ricky, Nath, I really appreciate
Cheers,
you
everyone.
taking
Thank
the
you.
time. Hope everyone's enjoyed that, and we'll see you
Cheers,
all around
guys.
the show. Thank you very much.